Welcome to the Rosary Team Podcast.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into something truly special.
We're taking a journey that, it really starts in a cathedral basement and ends at the very edge of digital science. It's all about preserving a profound artistic and spiritual legacy.
That's right. Our focus is the magnificent sacred art from the Viceroyalty of New Spain, specifically from the 16th to the 18th centuries. We're going to look at how modern tech is saving this art and, more importantly, how you can bring these masterpieces into your home for your own devotion.
Okay, so let's set the scene. This story really kicks off in Chihuahua, Mexico, with a crisis, a major crisis of preservation.
It does. For a long time, this incredible artistic heritage was gathered in one place, the Museo de Arte Sacro de la Diócesis.
And we're not talking about just any collection. These are the heavy hitters of New Spain artists like José de Páez, Antonio de Torres.
And of course, the great Miguel Cabrera, José de Alcibar, Juan Rodriguez Juárez. I mean, the list goes on.
So a concentration of true masters.
Absolutely. The pinnacle of devotional art from that entire period. But then in 2014, disaster struck.
The museum, which was, of all places, in the basement of the Chihuahua Cathedral, it had to close permanently.
The cause was severe flooding.
Wow. That's just heartbreaking. To think of that history, that faith, captured in art, just trapped by water. What was the actual risk? Were they in danger of, decaying right there?
The risk was huge. Now, they were safeguarded pretty quickly. Most pieces went into climate-controlled storage at the major seminary of Chihuahua.
Okay, so they were safe from immediate ruin.
Yes, but the problem became one of access. With some works getting temporary displays here and there, the collection as a whole basically vanished from public view. It stopped being a resource for scholars, for the public, for the faithful.
So this massive problem needed a massive and modern solution.
And that's where the Museo Digital de Renato comes in. This wasn't just, putting a few JPEGs online. It was a pioneering project for the region.
With a very clear goal.
A very clear mandate. The democratization of access to the art and culture of the Chihuahua Viceroyalty, using the best technology they could find.
And this is where the tech part of the story gets really amazing.
It is. They didn't just aim for high resolution, they went for ultra high resolution.
Okay, so let's break that down. If you buy a really nice professional camera today, you might get, 40, maybe 60 megapixels? Which is fantastic detail.
Exactly. But for true preservation, for deep scholarly study, they wanted something 20 times greater.
20 times.
They used a special technique, a capture method that stitches thousands of photos together to achieve what's called gigapixel resolution.
That 1 billion pixels.
1 billion pixels per image. For just about 40 paintings, the whole effort required taking 7,350 individual photos right there on site.
That's staggering. An incredible amount of data.
Yeah.
How does having 1 billion pixels actually change how an art historian looks at a painting?
It changes everything. It becomes almost forensic. You're not just looking at the painting, you're looking inside it. You can see things called pentimenti, the artist's changes of mind. You can see the faint traces of an arm that was moved or a detail that was painted over. You can see the individual bristles of the brush, how the glaze was layered. It's like having X-ray vision into the master's actual process.
So you're connecting with the artist's hand, not just the final product.
Precisely. It connects new generations to the art in a totally new way.
It's a huge modern investment to preserve these works. But that effort really mirrors the original investment made centuries ago to create them.
That's a perfect transition.
To really get why these pieces are so important, we need to understand the world that made them, the Viceroyalty of New Spain.
And to do that, we have to address a common historical narrative, something often called the Black Legend.
Right. Before we get into the counter-argument, can you just quickly define what the Black Legend is, just so we're all on the same page?
Of course. The Black Legend is essentially a narrative that paints the Spanish presence in the Americas as uniquely cruel, exploitative, and destructive. It frames the territory as just a collection of colonies to be plundered for resources.
Okay, understood. So how does the historian Juan Miguel Zunzunegui challenge that?
Zunzunegi's core argument is that New Spain wasn't a colony in that sense at all. It was an integrated empire that spanned both sides of the Atlantic.
Integrated how?
He points out that the indigenous populations, the Quechuas, the Mayas, and so on, were legally considered subjects of the crown, not just conquered peoples. Queen Isabella herself had passed laws decades earlier insisting they be cared for and incorporated.
That's pretty fundamental reframing. What's the evidence he uses to back that up?
The proof, he says, is in the infrastructure. Look at what other European powers did. They mostly built forts and trading posts on the coast.
To get resources out as quickly as possible.
Exactly. Spain did the opposite. They moved inland and built permanent, long-lasting societies. They poured enormous resources into building things that weren't for extraction.
Things like Hawk.
Hospitals, universities, complex aqueducts, and most importantly for our conversation, these absolutely magnificent cathedrals and altarpieces.
He has an analogy for this, doesn't he?
He does, and it's a great one. He says it's like the difference between a rental apartment and your own home. You don't spend a fortune on the best materials and craftsmanship for a place you're just going to abandon. You do it for your home.
And often, the art and architecture in America were even grander than what was being built back in Spain.
That's the key. It shows a profound, long-term commitment. And the indigenous people were partners in this. They were the co-builders.
You could see their influence in the art itself.
Absolutely. In the frescoes, in the artistic details. The integration even extended to language. For a long time, the lingua franca in much of New Spain wasn't Spanish. It was Nahuatl. The Spanish actually created grammars for Nahuatl, Maya, and Quechua.
So these sacred artworks aren't just European paintings on a new continent. They are, in a way, documents of this unique collaborative society being built.
That is the essential takeaway. This was a collaboration of faith and culture, and it created a heritage that is incredibly significant.
Which brings us right back to today. Because of that preservation crisis and the digital solution, this incredibly rich and complex history is now available for your own personal devotion. You don't have to be an art historian with a gigapixel monitor to connect with it. If you want to explore the spiritual richness and the profound artistic legacy of the Viceroyalty of New Spain and bring these faithful reproductions into your sacred space, visit rosaryteam.com today. So let's talk about that accessibility, the sacred art from the Viceroyalty of New Spain collection available through the Rosary Team. What's the focus here?
The focus is entirely on bringing these masterpieces back to their original purpose, devotion. These aren't just posters. They are faithful, high-quality reproductions that really capture that unique fusion of European artistic technique and New World spirituality.
And the format is specifically for the home.
Yes, specifically. They're offered as wood plaque icons, wooden icons, and wall art. They're designed to be perfect for a prayer room, a small home altar, or just as beautiful, meaningful decoration.
What about the themes? Do they reflect what we were just talking about, that intense focus on faith?
They absolutely do. The art of this period, especially the Baroque art, was very emotional, very tangible. It was designed to inspire piety. The collection really reflects that deep Christocentric and Marian devotion.
Can you give us some specific examples from the collection?
Of course. The collection really emphasizes the Passion of Christ. For instance, there's a powerful reproduction of the crucifixion, which was such a central theme in New Spain. There's also Jesus Prays in Gethsemane, which captures that moment of human struggle and divine obedience.
Beautiful. And what else?
There's also the appearance of Jesus to Mary, which speaks to the incredible Marian devotion of the era, and a really resonant one called Christ the Redeemer of the New World.
That title alone really says it all, doesn't it?
It really does. It visually captures the whole story we've been talking about. Faith being established in this new cultural and geographical world. These wood panel reproductions really celebrate that monumental period.
It's been quite a journey, just in this one deep dive. We started with a tragedy, really. Priceless art stuck in a flooded basement in Chihuahua. Then we saw how this amazing gigapixel technology not only saved that legacy, but opened it up in a new way.
And then we unpacked the history behind it all.
Right. The idea that these masterpieces weren't from a simple colony, but from this integrated, faith-driven empire that was building something permanent, something for the ages.
And that idea that this was a country built together, a collaboration. That's the lasting insight. When you physically acquire one of these pieces and display it in your home, you're not just hanging a picture.
We're connecting to something much bigger.
You're connecting your own devotion to that entire historical narrative of cultural mixing, of incredible artistic achievement, and of a deep, deep faith. You're bringing that heritage to the altar of your own home.
That's a really powerful thought to end on. If you've been moved by this story, by the art and the faith behind it, we really invite you to make this unique legacy a part of your daily life. Visit rosaryteam.com to explore the sacred art from the Viceroyalty of New Spain collection today. Thank you for listening to the Rosary Team podcast.
Thank you.